morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
I had a real nice visit with a young cowboy I highly admire the other day, and among many things, we talked about how a lot of people might really love to have a taste of the kind of life we are privileged to live, and how important it is to savor it and not take it all for granted.
When you get invited to go on a drive like that, or even to a branding, you sure feel privileged to be allowed to go and help, because it's not something we all are just able to do every year.
That's Cade Mills, son of the famous trainer Doug Mills, and you'll hear some more of my conversation with his young top hand today. The life is rewarding and rich, and not without its share of heartbreak. And I think you'll enjoy today's Cowboy Poetry Spotlight.
That a hot sun breaks across the crest, when once again they'll gather up and again give this life their best.
Sam DeLue there, and we'll bring you one of her latest today. And now, if you live next to what we call open range, where cattle roam pretty freely, and they keep breaking through the fence and onto your lawn, well, Baxter Black has a few suggestions.
Or how about mounting 10 football goalposts side by side and hang up blue plastic tarps? If you have the patience, you could build one out of Legos.
And on the Rangeland News, U.S. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue has some advice for cattle producers.
I am convinced when our Chinese friends taste this tasty, wholesome, healthy, safe beef, they're going to want more of it, so you all better get some more cows.
On the Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a question from a listener is, how do I make my horse side pass? All he wants to do is turn. Well, the very tone of the question indicates part of the problem, and I'll try and help. Michael Martin Murphy has our classic Song of the West, and I'll visit with Cade Mills after we take a ride on over to Blue Mesa.
Blue Mesa, land of Sioux and Crow. Blue Mesa, no matter where I go, you will always be home, sweet home to me, Blue Mesa. Moonlight shines as purple shadows fall. The silence broken by the lonesome coyote call. On Blue Mesa, land of Sioux and Crow. Blue Mesa, no matter where I go, you will always be home, sweet home to me, Blue Mesa. Herds of buffalo graze peacefully. I can almost hear those black hills calling me to Blue Mesa, land of Sioux and Crow. Blue Mesa, no matter where I go, you will always be home, sweet home to me, Blue Mesa. Rising high above the prairie floor, with every passing day I swear I love you more. Blue Mesa, land of Sioux and Crow. Blue Mesa, no matter where I go, you will always be home, sweet home to me,
you can sure tell the sound of a song that Luke Reed had a hand in writing, and that, of course, was Randy Travis. And as you probably know, a near-fatal stroke in July 2013 did a lot of bad things to Randy, pretty near took away his singing voice. But in the last year, him and his wife have been making real concentrated efforts to reinforce their lives with public appearances, and just last month he met with several hundred fans at a meet and greet at the Country Music Hall of Fame, where he was inducted a little earlier this year. He is making progress, but it is a bit slow. Well, Cade Mills is a fine young horseman, two-time winner of the Main Event Trainers Challenge, and he spent Canada Day in the nation's capital. Cade, have you ever been to Ottawa before?
No, the farthest east I've ever been was for the London All Equine Trainer Challenge they have out there, which is now done by the Main Event.
That's right, yeah. And that was kind of an interesting event, and I understand that you took part in, what was it, a couple of demos and a trail horse course and that kind of thing, and I saw a couple of posts on Facebook. What was that all about?
It was a trainer challenge, a lot like the Main Event, but a few different deals. So another way for us trainers to gain points was they have a Cowboy Up challenge, and the bottom three competitors, the horses would get drawn, the bottom three horses would get drawn for the trainers, and we would have 15 minutes to fix whatever problems we felt they had, and then we had to do the Cowboy Up challenge, and the judges would judge us based on how well they responded to our training and the changes we could make in that time.
What were some of the elements and obstacles in that particular course?
They had a cowboy car wash, so the hanging tarp. They had some jumps. They had a box where you'd have to run down and go into the box and stop and spin both ways 2 or 3 times.
Without stepping out of the box?
Without stepping out of the box.
Oh,
and then they had the flag carry and trailer loading, some roping events, some log drags. They had a pretty interesting course there.
Wow. And the horse you had, it sounds like you were pretty happy with.
Yeah, the first year I was there, he was a pretty neat horse. He was a Canadian bred stallion, so he was quite broke though. The lady had done a good job with him. He just had some fear in the obstacles and a little hard time following his nose. So in my time I had with him, I worked on him following his nose around there and staying in the bridle. And then when it comes to the time to show him, he did quite well. We ended up getting the most points out of that obstacle. So he was a good boy.
That's got to be a bit of a rush when you know that this is going pretty well and you're having some success and there's a big crowd. And like on the video I watched, man, they were just cheering. And that's got to be kind of a rush for you.
It is, yeah. It's a lot of fun, especially when the crowd gets into it as well. They start playing loud music. Everyone kind of gets on their feet, and they host it on Saturday night, so it's kind of a big gathering for everybody. Everyone comes for the Saturday night show on the Cowboy Up Challenge. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was nice at being at a trainer challenge. We're riding young horses all the time, so it's sure nice to step on a broke horse midway through the challenge and just go for a ride without having to worry about anything.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, Cade is organizing the Danes Ranch Open Trainers Challenge colt starting competition that starts next week, actually, at Ivan's 41st Annual Country Music Picnic. And we'll have more about that when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. One of the events at the Calgary Stampede that's really getting a lot of attention is that Cowboy Up Challenge based on Craig Cameron's Extreme Cowboy Race. A couple of Canadians have been winners in the past, including Glenn Stewart, Katari Kali, and Jim Anderson. But this year, as you may know by now, the $10,000 went to Joplin, Missouri with cowgirl Annie Chance. And, Cade Mills, I just love these kind of events.
It's a neat display of what you can get a horse to do when your horse is with you, for sure. And the popularity is sure growing. I'm noticing it Canada-wide and all over the United States. I'm seeing more and more posts about Cowboy Up challenges, and the Stampede has grown amazingly in the last 5 or so years. And I find in my area more and more people that are just hobby riders and they don't compete are starting to want to get into it more and more because they're finding a way to compete that they can work with their horse, build confidence, and have some fun.
So what else has gone on in your life since last time we talked, which was probably just over a year ago here?
We had the Saskatoon Trainer Challenge this year, and we had a pretty good show there. We had two other really good trainers and myself, Jesse Rempel and Amos Anderson, or Amos Abrahamson, and we had a really good show. All of us were on our horses at the same time, and all horses came together at the same time. We all had a great finals, and it was a good show. We managed to win that trainer challenge, so it was even funner for us, I guess.
The colt you had there was pretty nice, was he?
She was quite outstanding. John King, he brings the horses from King Ranch, and these horses are all bloodlines from third and fourth generations of how they've had that ranch. So his dad has had the broodmares and the broodmares' moms from all these horses. So the ones that he brought this year, usually they are for sale, but this year all the mares that he brought were going into his breeding program. So it was we were really lucky to get definitely the best of the best out of his herd, and all four horses he brought were just great little fillies.
You've got a real good perspective on the horse industry and the heartland of the horse industry there in central Alberta. We often wonder how it's going. I've been in it for a long time, and 30 years ago there were lots of horses around, but I don't think nearly as many good ones as we have now. And there were people back then that said, I think the industry is dying off in a way, and the value of good horses is going down. But I don't know. What do you see? I think, to me, it seems to be thriving right now.
I think it really is, and the value of good horses I have seen increase. The value of average horses is the only one I seems to fluctuate, but the young, well-bred prospects are still going for a good dollar, and the breeders, it seems like they're still doing quite well. So I think the industry's doing great. The only thing I see that is maybe lost some growth is the 4-H program. They're down in numbers, but this year we've done some good promotion for the 4-H. We did some promotion for the 4-H there in Donalda, Alberta. We did a 4-day clinic with them, and then we also had gone to Moose Jaw to do a 4-H demonstration out there, and just getting young horses into or young people into horses again, and showing them that they can do it, and teaching them how to do it right. And I think that's what it's going to take to grow the 4-H industry. So the next crop of riders is all going to be ready to go.
Well, when I watch those extreme races, cowboy races, and those mountain trail horse courses, I get inspired, and the words of the award-winning writer of fine cowboy poetry, Magma Winnie, often come to mind. I dream of riding fast horses. She wrote the words, and the Mountain Saddle Band set them to music.
I dream of riding fast horses. They race through my mind in the night. I wish I could ride them forever, from darkness on into the light. I just want to capture the wind, feel the sound of it flapping my shirt, and feel a fast horse beneath me, pounding powerful hooves in the dirt, pounding powerful hooves in the dirt. I dream of riding fast horses, galloping o'er hills and plains, and the man of the horse that I ride will never know bridle and reins. I dream of riding fast horses, galloping till darkness is done. I ride without any saddle, so I feel our spirits as one. I feel our spirits as one. I dream of riding fast horses, the wild ones who've never been tied, their tangled manes flying high as symbols of freedom and pride. The sun dances over their paths with colors so stunning and bold. They move with such beautiful grace. It's more than my eyes can behold. It's more than my eyes can behold. I dream of riding fast horses, galloping o'er hills and plains, and the man on the horse that I dream of riding fast horses, galloping o'er hills and plains, and the phantom horse that I ride will never know bridle and rein. I dream of riding fast horses, galloping till darkness is done. I ride without any saddle, so I feel our spirits as one. I feel our spirits as one. I dream of riding fast horses. They race through my mind in the night.
And now let's get back to my guest, Cade Mills.
Did you get, I know you've been so darn busy with all of these projects, did you get to drag any calves in any brandings this year?
I managed to make a couple brandings this year. Yeah, it was great. It's nice to get off a colt and get onto one of my own personal horses and go ride to a branding. So yeah, we've had some good ones. We've had some big gathers and some good brandings. It's always nice to do that and get back to the tradition of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's more fun than fishing.
Yeah, it is more fun than fishing. I agree.
Yeah. And what have you got coming up for the rest of the summer? I know just in a little over a week we've got the Ivan Daines Country Music Picnic, the 41st annual, and another great Trainers Challenge that you're putting together for that. And looking forward to being out there. And that starts on the Wednesday and runs until Friday. And what else you got coming up over the summer and fall?
We have lots of clinics coming up this year. We've been out to Saskatchewan quite a bit this year, and we've got some clinics at home here in Sundre and some more in Peace River. So we'll be on the road quite a bit for clinics, and then some Team Roping jackpots. So we have the Team Roping Canada Finals in September, which is an opportunity to compete for some big money. We got qualified into some good ropings there. So the one roping pays $25,000 a man to win. So
oh my gosh!
We'll be practicing up for that, and yeah, just riding good horses and doing clinics. And me and my wife started rodeoing this year a little bit, so that's been kind of a fun project. Get my wife back on a horse after having a couple kids.
Oh man, is that right? Yeah. So is she running barrels or?
Yeah, she's barrel racing, and with our two little girls, when we go to the rodeo, we're riding the same horse. So I team rope on the horse that she barrel races on. So when we get to the rodeo, she saddles up and goes and warms up, and I take the girls. And when she's done barrel racing, she hands me a bridle rein, and I hand her two kids.
And how old are those kids now?
I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're amidst of it all. We have a lot more keeping us busy as well.
A good thing you're young. Well, coming up next, it's Baxter Black and his ideas for keeping the critters off your lawn and out of your yard, and another song about fast horses. Then the Rangeland News, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan with a little peek at Will Cows Eat Juniper. If your group or association is planning a meeting and are on a thrifty budget, check out Virtual Video Baxter. That's me. I'll video a personalized welcome, then furnish several humorous stories to run between your speakers. Sign books can be used as auction items. We've done rodeos, museums, bull sales, the Conservation Service. Use your imagination. Virtual Video Baxter. Give us a call, 800-654-2550 at baxterblack.com. I got a letter from a gentleman who wrote, I live in a free-range state, and it is not uncommon to see cows bust through people's fences and eat their trees and windshield wipers and Walmart bags. I'm thinking of planting juniper for a windbreak. I live on the Llano, and I'm curious if my hungry visitors would eat them. Signed, J.R. Dear J.R., an excellent question. As you pointed out, cows will eat car parts and baler twine. not to mention staples, wire, tennis balls, bones, prickly pear, the Western Horseman magazine, windmill leathers, moldy hay diapers, the flag of Honduras, snow cones, and apple pie. So eating juniper, which sounds like it should be related to eucalyptus, could be expected. But if by some chance I am wrong, then you would be susceptible to a koala attack. Regardless of what you plant, something will eat it. Where you live, everything is hungry. Logically, you should plant your windbreak with something inedible. Now, I've never seen an antelope eat a steel post or jackrabbits eat bed springs. And there should be enough abandoned cars between your ranch and Berlin to build a nice windbreak. Granted, it would not be safe from goats or backyard mechanics. One of the best natural windbreaks I've ever seen is a 12-foot-high stretch of elk fence. Just string it up and let it collect tumbleweeds for a couple years. People on the plains have been planting scraggly elms and Lombardy poplar since they started west from St. Louis. Those are tough trees, and they're constantly battered by drought, wind, blizzard, and blight. And they usually look ratty and don't offer much protection, but they fit the country. The trees, not the people. One of the more useful windbreaks to conserve a double purpose is a billboard. Or you could start a mink farm and pour a permanent slab along the west side of the house and invite protesters over on windy days. Or how about mounting 10 football goalposts side by side and hang up blue plastic tarps? If you have the patience, you could build one out of Legos, advertise it, and have a gift shop maybe. Well, I'm beginning to run out of suggestions, but my first thought upon receiving your note was the essence of simplicity. Just dig a hole and bury your house. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by B&W Turnover Bowl.
The 25th Annual Stony Plain Cowboy Festival runs August 18th to 20th, 2017 at beautiful Heritage Park, Stony Plain. The amazing lineup of performers includes legends like Gary Felgard, Ben Crane, Doris Daly, B.J. Smith, Ed Brown, Randy Holler, Bryn Thiessen, and contemporary stars like Aaron Pritchett, Steve Newsom, and many, many more. For information on tickets, day passes, and more, just call 780-963-6092 and see StonyPlainCowboyFestival.com. We'll see you there. Last year at the 40th Annual Ivan Dane's Country Music Picnic, I really enjoyed being horseback doing the commentary for the Open Trainers Challenge, and I've still got a great memory of being on that beautiful Palomino filly, Noel, under the big Alberta sky while Fred Oberstein was on stage singing the songs of the West. And Fred's going to be back there again this year, and here he is with a song he wrote a few years ago.
West of the Rough Creek timberland on a wildland grazing lease, we left our bears to raise their foals where the wind blows through the trees. When we returned, the bears were gone where we do not know. They were running with the wild ones along the eastern slopes. We rode the hidden canyon on the mountainside so high, rode across the blowdowns where the pine trees touch the sky. Through the muscakes and the swamp spruce, the tracks were plain to see. Dark shadows in the timber, running wild and free. Wild horses, shadows in the timber on the run, hiding on the rugged slopes of the North Saskatchewan. A stallion is the leader of that wild Mustang band, born to live a free life in that Rocky Mountain land. Wild horses, shadows in the timber on the run, hiding on the rugged slopes of the North Saskatchewan. Out there on the river breaks of the North Saskatchewan. Smoke from an old campfire brings back old memories, the times that we spent riding hard where the wind blows through the trees. We couldn't find the horses, the game we could not win. Out there on the rugged banks of the North Saskatchewan. Wild horses, shadows in the timber on the run. Found their tracks along the banks of the North Saskatchewan. A stallion is the leader of that wild Mustang band, born to live a free life in that Rocky Mountain land. Wild horses, shadows in the timber on the run, hiding on the rugged slopes of the North Saskatchewan. Out there on the river breaks of the North Saskatchewan.
News of the Rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
Top of page 1, it says, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue is showing the world he's quite a salesman. And he was on the job telling American producers that since he's worked out a deal with China to take more U.S. beef, ranchers might want to look expanding the cow herd. And with more, here's reporter Stephanie Ho.
U.S. Ambassador to China Terry Branstad says he is optimistic that sales of American beef to China will increase.
We already sell a lot of soybeans and a lot of pork, but I think with the growing middle class, beef is going to be a big hit.
At an event in Beijing where U.S. prime rib was carved for lunch, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue thanked Chinese customers, but he also had a message for the beef industry back home.
For our processors, for those men and women who go out in the cold and birth those calves and help their mama cows deliver, we want to thank you for what you do in order to make this possible.
And at the same time, he jokingly warned them to be ready for higher demand.
I am convinced when our Chinese friends taste this tasty, wholesome, healthy, safe beef, they're going to want more of it, so you all better get some more cows.
The United States is the world's largest beef producer and the fourth largest exporter. This is Stephanie Ho for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
There's been a lot of good quality hay put up around our region so far this summer, and I'm sure most of you know that, but Alberta Agriculture has a lot of information on what or when hay is at its peak of condition. And they say while hay may look and smell fine, appearances may be deceptive and tests will need to be done to make sure the quality's there. They also say cutting hay early will give you a higher quality product. Mixed hay or predominantly grass hay will drop between 1 and 1.5% protein per week as it matures, and the energy content will decrease 2 to 3 points. And they say if a producer is looking to mix this year's hay with hay carried over from last year or with a spring crop that was baled instead of combined, the higher quality product will be needed to make up for the deficiencies in the older material. And they say it pretty well timing depends on location. And for more information, you can contact Alberta Ag Info Center at 310-3276. At the end of July, a Montana rancher reported that 4 calves were killed by grizzly bears. Both USDA Wildlife Services and Montana Fish Wildlife Parks worked to set up trapping efforts to capture the bears. The grizzlies were 2 young male siblings. One bear was captured in a snare and the other bear was field darted, and they were later euthanized. Grizzly bears, it seems, are becoming more common and more of a problem as they venture away from the Rocky Mountain front. And it's reported that there are over 1,000 grizzlies in the Rocky Mountains of western Montana and Idaho, a population that has recovered well while being on the endangered species list. Well, half the cattle on this planet live in hot and humid environments, including some 40% of U.S. beef cows. And now scientists from the University of Florida are developing a breed of genetically modified cows of the future that will be more heat resistant, along with having the ability to adapt to hot weather and produce high quality beef. Researchers are studying the more heat tolerant Brangus and Angus and Brahma cross, and they hope to determine which DNA segments from the two breeds regulate body temperatures. And this is pretty rare. A set of triplet calves has been born on the Weisslesbach cattle farm in Indiana. The cow's mother was raised for the 4-H beef program, and the odds of triplets in beef cows are possible in 1 in 700,000 births. And arriving about 2 weeks early, the triplets weighed 400 pounds each, and all 3 calves will be kept at the farm to carry on the desired genetics. And as the long, hot summer rolls on, the wildfires may have had some impact on BC Livestock Co-op sales, but the best way to find out when they are going to be and where they're going to be is to go to bclivestock.bc.ca or call the co-op at 250-573-3939. Meanwhile, over at the Innisfail Auction Market, regular cattle sales every Wednesday, 2 horse sales a month. Get all the information at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com and call toll-free 1-800-710-3166. And be sure and try the burgers in their cafe, too. And that takes us down to the final item. When you've been happily married for as many years as we have, we still like to think that we are kind of a hero to the person we married, and from the first time I saw Billy's bright smiling eyes, I knew I wanted to be her knight in shining armor. And sometimes we'll sit on the garden swing and talk about the adventures we've had together and some of the capers I pulled that she's witnessed and bailed me out of. And it's true, sometimes her knight in shining armor is more like an idiot wrapped in tinfoil. And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, the question is, how can I make my horse side pass? All he wants to do is turn. And there's more from Cade Mills and more great music too. And the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a rider says she wants to know how to make her horse side pass. All he wants to do is turn, and that's the subject we'll deal with. First, though, the 17th annual Spirit of the West Cruise will be something unforgettable. My wife Billy and I will be hosting a big group of ranchers, farmers, horse and cattle folks, and Spirit of the West listeners for a trip I know many of you have had on your bucket list for a long time. September 16th, 2018, we will sail out of Quebec City and cruise Canada's maritime provinces in all the glory of the fall colors, including stops in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Sydney and Halifax, Nova Scotia, St. John, New Brunswick and the Bay of Fundy, Bar Harbor, Maine, Boston, Portland, Maine, and Cape Liberty, New Jersey, with an optional stay in New York City. Now, just for the Spirit of the West group, we have a tour of a cattle operation in Nova Scotia. We'll have all our great Western music concerts and sing-alongs, and we'll be swapping lots of ranching stories. And we'll have a lot of special activities just for our group. You'll find more details on the cruise section of our website at hugh-mclennan.com and on our cruise Facebook page, and you can always call the toll-free number 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Experience the true Spirit of the West at Canada's largest Western store, Irvine Tack and Western Wear. If you need a curb strap or a 4-star gooseneck trailer, you'll find it here. A saddle for every rider. Cutters, reiners, penners, trainers, working ranch cowboys, ropers. They have over 1,200 in stock. And they have Western wear for the entire family. And how about a gift card? Shop online at irvinesaddles.ca. Free shipping on orders of over $100. irvinesaddle.ca, 1-877-946-9494. Question from a rider this week: how do I make my horse side pass? All he wants to do is turn. Well, it sounds simple, but there are really a lot of parts to this. First, let me say that I'd rather not make a horse do anything. I'd rather show him and then let him do it when he understands all the elements. And a side pass is what I'd call a pretty advanced maneuver. A leg yield is kind of where it starts, and a lot of folks think when their horse does a leg yield, he's doing a side pass. I like to think of 3 stages of lateral movement. There are more, but the first 3, leg yield, side pass, and then the classic half pass. In a leg yield, the horse will have his head turned slightly away from the direction you want him to move. Say it's to the right, his head will be slightly bent to the left. And then you could ask for him to step his left hind leg across his right hind, and then the same with the front. But a lot of riders don't realize there's a lot of foundation stuff that must be in place first. His shoulders must be supple. He must know how to break at the pole, and he must understand how to yield to leg pressure. Sometimes I'll work a horse along the rail and ask for a haunches in maneuver. If he's traveling counterclockwise, I'll slightly bend his head to the rail and apply just enough leg pressure behind the cinch to have him move his haunches away from the rail. This can develop into a leg yield with the horse facing the rail, and I think that before you can ask for a side pass, the leg yield must be working well in both directions. The side pass comes when his body is straight from head to tail and he steps sideways in either direction, crossing over in front and behind, and it takes a lot of feel and finesse. The half pass is when the horse moves forward and sideways at the same time, and unlike the easier leg yield, the horse is bent in the direction of travel, slightly around the rider's inside leg. The outside hind leg and forelegs should cross over the inside legs with the horse's body parallel to the arena wall and his forehand leading. And the horse should remain forward, balanced and bent, moving with some rhythm. The inside hind leg remains engaged through the half pass, and the horse should not lose his rhythm. And if you and your horse can master even some of this stuff, you'll be making good progress. And for urban saddles and western wear, that's the Horse Training File. Something our horses really enjoy is that daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration, and you can find out what it can do for you at hoffmanshorseration.com. The 25th Annual Stony Plain Cowboy Festival runs August 18th to 20th, 2017 at beautiful Heritage Park, Stony Plain. The amazing lineup of performers includes legends like Gary Felgard, Ben Crane, Doris Daly, B.J. Smith, Ed Brown, Randy Holler, Bryn Thiessen, and contemporary stars like Aaron Pritchett, Steve Newsom, and many, many more. For information on tickets, day passes, and more, just call 780-963-6092 and see StonyPlainCowboyFestival.com. We'll see you there. At the age of 91, Tom Blasingame was still on the job with the J.A. Ranch south of Amarillo, Texas, on a good horse moving cows, a job he had done for 85 years. 2 days after Christmas in 1989, he got off his horse Riodosa, stretched out on the grass, folded his arms across his chest, and he was found a while later with his horse grazing nearby. And that was his final day on the job and on this earth. His story is well known, and Ian Tyson paid tribute with this song.
Tom's the name, Tom Blasingame, 85 years in the saddle, seen 85 years through a cow horse's ears, whilst chasing the wild bull vines. Yeah, you thought they're all gone, there's still one hanging on, tied hard and fast to the memory. And might near the only one could tell us how she got done, whilst chasing the wild bull vines. There's 10 million cattle on 10,000 hills, no man can ride for 'em all. Still Tom lopes along through the rocks and the rills, following the old cattle call. The cross S's, the 5 L's, the big double O's, to the matadors in Texas, and Lord only knows what a wonderful life in a wonderful game. Here on you, Tom Blasingame. Now Tom, he claims that a man's true joy is in the work that a man likes to do. And if I understand, Tom's a right joyous man. And Tom, here's looking at you. The cross S's, the 5 L's, and the big double O's, to the matadors in Texas, and Lord only knows what a wonderful life in the wonderful game here on your Tom Lazen game.
Cade Mills is still sitting on a horse with a cell phone in hand, and we were talking during the break about some of the fine rides I've had with your dad, Doug Mills, including many years on our famous Kamloops cattle drive.
Yeah, well, it was a shame to hear the cattle drive canceled, because actually when I was in Ottawa, we would get down to the end of the night and we'd be sitting around the campfire and talking horses, and I had a lot of people there asking me if there was a way they could fly over and do a cattle drive anywhere in Western Canada. And I do not know of one that I could recommend them to. I told them we used to do that one there, for quite a few years.
13 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know of any that are going on anymore, but it was definitely a neat event, and I haven't seen anything like it since.
Well, there are still some big moves and some big gathers and some drives, but they aren't open to the public necessarily, and they aren't the kind of thing that anybody and everybody can bring their horse along and take part in. But I know there still are lots of them on the big outfits, and even some of the smaller outfits moving up to the summer range, and even this time of the year, spring turnout. There's some that take a couple of days to get the cows and calves up there, but it's where the regular crew and the family handles it all. And it's just
and that's a really neat thing to see keep going, because the traditions are still going. Guys have been doing it for years, and now their kids are still doing it. But when you get invited to go on a drive like that, or even to a branding, you sure feel privileged to be allowed to go and help, because it's not something we all are just able to do every year. So I can understand how horse people really, really crave to do that kind of thing, and yet we're right in the heart of where that's all going on, and we tend to take it for granted sometime. Oh man, moving cows again today. But I try not to. I try to savor it and enjoy it completely. So. Well, I'm going to get down to go help Travis Beaton on the McIntyre ranch. And I'll fall down and go give him a hand. And he said, well, I don't know if they'll pay. I said, well, I'll do it for free. Don't worry about paying me. It sounds fun just to do it.
Boy, now that is one awesome, big chunk of country down there. Wow.
Oh, some of the numbers, he says, when they're moving cows just baffles me.
Oh, yeah. No, you get a chance to do that. You'll want to savor it for sure. Well, I shouldn't take up your whole day here, Cade, but it's great to visit with you, and we are really looking forward to being out to the Ivan Daines Country Music Picnic and the...
We call it the Daines Open Trainer Challenge, the only trainer challenge I know of that anybody can enter.
Okay, well, we'll see you there at the Daines Ranch.
Sounds good, Hugh.
Remember, the trainers competition gets underway on Wednesday, and the finals will be Friday, and I hope we'll see you there. Next, it's another classic song of the West and the story behind the song. Then the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. For this week's classic song of the West, we look at one where the story is probably much bigger than the song. And this version goes back to a poem written by the Reverend Andrew Jenkins. He was a composer of American country, folk, and gospel songs. Wrote more than 800 in total. About a third were secular. And he performed with his family as the Jenkins Family. And he got the idea for the poem from a biography of a famous outlaw that came out in 1926. The outlaw in the song was born Henry McCarty, later known as William Bonney, and no doubt you knew him as the notorious Billy the Kid. Here's Michael Martin Murphy and the Ballad of Billy the Kid.
I'll sing you a true song of Billy the Kid. I'll sing you the desperate deeds that he did way out in New Mexico long years ago, when a man's only protection was a big 44. When Billy the Kid was a very young lad, in old Silver City he went to the bad, way out in the west, with a gun in his hand. At the age of 12 years he killed his first man. Fair Mexican maidens play guitars and sing all about Billy, their boy band king. Ere his manhood had come to an end, he'd notches on his pistol for 21 men. On the same morning that young Billy died, said to his friends, boys, I'm not satisfied. 21 men I've put bullets through. Sheriff Pat Garrett's gonna make 22. In this way Billy the Kid met his fate. Moon it was high and the hour was late. Shot down by Pat Garrett, who once was his friend. This way Billy the Kid met his end. Now there's many a young man with a face fine and fair, who started out alive with a chance to be square. But just like Billy, he wanders astray and loses his life in the very same way. I'll sing you a true song of Billy the Kid. I'll sing you the desperate deeds that he did way out in New Mexico long years ago, when a man's only protection was a big 44.
And now here's Sam DeLue with The Long Haul.
They are in it for the long haul. What does that cliche really mean? Is it just for years when things go well, before years become dry and lean? Or is it times when crops grow high, or when their cattle prices soar? Or is it times when prices drop and the banker's at the door? The long haul means those endless months when there's no income and no gain. The long haul is when your body aches, when springs go dry from lack of rain. The long haul is when you're losing calves to a harsh winter's frozen ground, when hunting strays and aging cows and only skeletons are found. Yes, they're in it for the long haul when they look on toward next year. They sweep away the blowing dirt and wipe away a child's tear. When forced to move and leave behind the only life they've ever known, look in eyes of youthful sorrow mixed with the sorrows of their own. The long haul means a second chance when they'll not leave but stay instead, rebuild their lives and make ends meet, working on someone else's spread. The long haul starts again each day that a hot sun breaks across the crest, when once again they'll gather up and again give this life their best. This is the life they've grown to love, where there is pride and they stand tall. This life's what makes them who they are, why they're in it for the long haul.
Thank you so much for making the ride this week, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. And thanks again to our great support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan at Meadow Springs Guest Ranch. And if you're looking for tractor parts, any kind, any make, any year, Mark can help you with his site, bctractorparts.com. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.